I documented each day of Nuno Bettencourt's guitar camp, but NAMM happened immediately after, and now I'm finally back home in Hollywood, and I felt like my work was unfinished. I wanted to make a final video covering the whole Nuno camp, especially because if he does another camp in the future, this can be a reference for people deciding if they want to go, just saying everything we did, or if there's another guitar camp. I've heard Steve Vai does camps, or I know other people do camps, if Eric Gales or whoever. You can get an insight on what this camp was like, at least. So comment who you're going to in the future, and if this was helpful. My name's Alex Goff. I'm a rock musician. So I've got my notes right in front of me, and I've got my pictures on my phone. And I'm going to put both of these together. I tried to make a 60-second short video, and it was impossible. I couldn't get all my thoughts in just a video. I'll start with the thing that, excuse me, I realized that I left out of the short, which is that I made so many great connections. There's so many like-minded, amazing guitar players, amazing people, nice people. It was, you could just... They had food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and when you would just take your plate and look around at all the tables, you could literally you could sit anywhere and just say, "Hi, I'm Alex," and make great conversations and meet all these people that build guitars or go to camps or play guitar full-time. There's things you can learn from, and if you're sitting in front of a computer, like if you're just at home alone, like I want to learn everything there is to know about guitar. Like, you don't even know where to start. But when you just talk to people about what they do, you get all this knowledge so fast. So just being in person, talking to people, it just inspires you. You learn way faster. You learn from what other people are doing. So that was the thing I didn't even say in the 60-second short. Okay, so this is kind of in a linear chronological order of the camp. We began day one. Nuno came out, gave the best speech ever. You can look at the speech on Dreamcatcher Events, the Instagram page. I don't know if it's anywhere else, probably on YouTube at this point. He talked all about, like, why do you love guitar? You're a unique player, voice. I remember when he was giving the speech, he talked about how he walked up to Eddie Van Halen, and Eddie let him play his guitar on his rig. And he said he had prepared for this his whole life. And what should I play? And he started playing, and it sounded like Nuno. Didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen. So we all have something different and unique to say. So don't compare or don't sweat if you think like, I'm not good. Don't let those thoughts come to you, because you are yourself. There's no comparison. Throughout the whole weekend, there were breakout sessions, master classes. The main teachers were Rick Beato, Taj Ferrant, Eric Gales, a few more that escape me but are equally amazing in their own ways. Steve Vai did come for a couple of sessions, but he didn't teach any classes. Rick Beato did a few. I went to 2 of his classes, and it was like being inside of a Rick Beato video, which is cool, because if you're a musician like me, or just interested in music, or just anyone, you've seen a Rick Beato video, which is cool. Eric Gales was really cool to get to know, because I've heard of his name and I've listened to a few songs and known, like, okay, he's amazing. But in person, his style, he really prefers to get to know everyone and communicate before he just starts playing a bunch of stuff on guitar. He's very emotional about music in a great way. I joked, not making fun of the situation, but he thought it was funny. When the class was over, I was like, man, if you did this every Sunday, I would be there. He really gets you feeling in the spirit. It's too bad, we weren't sitting there with the guitar plugged in, and with more time with that same session with Eric Gales, I'm sure like he could really make a strong jam session, because he gets just the emotions flowing and the spiritual aspect about playing guitar. He really gets it going, and he talks about pain and happiness and life. And so that was really cool to meet the guy behind. I've just seen the picture on Spotify of his face and heard an amazing solo, but he is super down to earth. And I saw him a few times throughout. He was always attending every class. I always saw him sitting there listening to Nuno, and I gave him a thumbs up a couple times. And, he's just always, really good guy. Nothing but good things. Taj Ferrant, 16-year-old guy that can really play, and he sounds cool when he's covering like Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's got this like lower raspy voice, so he's just like a force coming at you. He has this Gary Moore. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of another thing to talk about. He has this Gary Moore cover. Here's a thing to talk about. Wow, I took extensive notes during Six String Sanctuary. And there are so many guitarist names that everyone's like, you should listen to him, you should listen to him. People that I don't feel like I've given the proper attention. Gary Moore, everyone knows Eric Johnson, but does everyone know a lot of his music? If you're a guitar player or into guitar, you'll probably know these artists better than me. I need to really take a good listen to some of these people. Robert, write these down. If you're looking for new guitars to listen to, here comes the list. Robert Fripp, Pat Travers, Frank Zappa, Black Pages. I don't remember why I took that note, but is Black Pages a cool Frank Zappa song? Joe Satriani, of course. Richie Korzun was also one of the teachers at the camp. And I think I spelled it wrong. It's Kotzen, right? Richie Kotzen from Poison. He recommends Greg Howe. And then Nuno and Richie talked about Adrian Smith, Lou Graham. Then Rick Beato talked about John Schofield, Larry Carlton. And then someone else mentioned Bob Welch. Here's a bunch of names. Pat Metheny, Jeff Beck, of course, Steve Lukather, Robin Trower, Steve Vai, Theodore Brada, George Lynch, Jason Becker, John Sykes, Gary Moore, Alex Skoland, Paul Gilbert, John Acoma, Marty Freeman, Steve Vai and Alcatraz, I think that's an album, Sinister Gates, Vivian Campbell, Yngwie Malmsteen, Rise of the Force by Yngwie is the recommendation, Alan Holdsworth, Elliot Eastman. So I'm like, oh my gosh, these are so many names. Some I've heard, some for the first time. But I need to do a deep dive on all of this. I have a feeling if I listen to one album by each of these artists, I will get better at guitar. Just learning what the best of the best do. Recording stations. I feel like I did not say this. I didn't articulate this well in my 60-second short. Nuno made a track for the camp. He said he tried to make a first track, and it was unintentionally so good that they're putting it on the Extreme album. They were like, you can't waste that for the guitar camp. So he made a second track, and then it was so unintentionally good, they're putting it on the new Extreme album. Then he was like, I've got to just make like a simple jam thing for 60 seconds so I don't keep making good tracks. And he was like, I have you guys to thank for 2 Extreme songs. Which is cool. So you were assigned a time, and you showed up at the correct station, and I had Luis, the singer of the Red Devil Vortex metal band out of LA. Excuse me. Super sweet, super awesome guy. And I played a solo. It was good, not great. And I was just there to learn. He guided me. He was like, I liked what you did here. You could do, in this part, instead of going down, you could go up. Kind of make a statement. Say who you are. And we went back and forth. And it was maybe 4 or 5 quick runs. But he could tell, like, I was almost there. And for me, it was just emotionless. Like, I'm here to learn. And then it was kind of like, we got to the end, and it was like, one more time. And, I'm like, cool, run it. And it's like, boom. And within 15 minutes, I got this high quality, I've got a flash drive here, a way better solo. This is the next piece of content I need to make. I need to match up the video to the solo because as far as I remember, it ended up sounding really cool and better with the guidance than it would have just sounded on my own. I love coaching. I love outside perspective and guidance, and it's all part of learning because I'll probably listen to this and I'll be like, yeah, that is right. Or I'll even know how I could have done it better. Either way, that's just, it gets you thinking how to speak with the guitar, which is so important. And it was crazy because before it happened, I was just kind of like, I wasn't nervous. I was kind of like, this is what I trained for. But on the spot, it's very on the spot, you know? And so when it was done, it was like, wow, I made it to the other side. That's a cool feeling when you've made it to the other side. Something that feels insurmountable, right? So that day, there was 11 a.m., I think I remember, a master class with Nuno. And he was sitting, there was like a paragraph description of what this master class was going to be about. He was sitting there with the mic. Everybody wandered in. He's like, you know what would be the best master class? Jamming with each and every one of you. Everybody line up. We're jamming. And it was crazy. 200 people got up, got in this very long line, and for 2 hours, Nuno and his backing band did a jam in E. Just changing the dynamics, going up, down, reggae, gospel, whatever. And just everyone gets their little 30, 45-second shot to, it was Nuno's guitar. You couldn't bring your own. And there's a guy backstage helping, and so each guy would just jam for 30, or female, whoever would jam for 30 seconds, then hand the guitar to the guy, and then the guy would hand you the guitar. And it's crazy because you're in line. It was 2 hours. He got like 2/3 done, and the next third would go the next day. And so I was part of that last third that didn't go until the second day. You're in line, you're listening to what everyone else is doing. And once again, not super nervous, and knowing that I trained for this, but also aware that, hope I do something cool. That would be nice to do something cool. And then you're sitting there backstage. You're next. There's like 4 steps up to the stage, and you're looking at the guy jamming with Nuno. Your ears aren't even working because your thoughts are so loud. And then boom, it's walk to the top step. And then next thing you know, you've got Nuno's guitar on, and Nuno's looking at you, and you're looking at Nuno playing on stage. I didn't even look out at the crowd. That was the last thing on my mind. I just wanted to make sure I did something, what's the word? Legible? Just something. Something within the language of music. And I took it slow. You can see the video. I uploaded the short. It's maybe 5 shorts ago. Me jamming with Nuno. I'm proud of my solo. You always could do better, but on the spot with the emotions and the thoughts going, sometimes in real life, you might get a 75 out of 100, whereas when you practice, you got a 90 or a 95. But that's why you practice, so that it can be the 75 and not a 50. That's what's so cool about consistency, is that it brings your average up. So in those moments, it might not be your best, but it's way better than it would have been. And when it does have a 75, get a 70, and you can see that for yourself, that I did a passable job. Next time, you might get even better than that. So that's how I felt. It was 30 seconds, quick. We went back and forth. I was one of the longer ones. I got like 55 seconds with Nuno. And fist bumped at the end. I'm about to upload all these pictures to Instagram. I was just buzzing after that, especially when I rewatched the video, and I was like, this is better than I remember. I did it. I did it. And so that felt like maybe like 2 days, just this energetic buzz nonstop. Like I can do anything, and I still feel it. But specifically like right after, it was like, wow, that was monumental. And that was just That was the highlight. That was the apex of the whole guitar camp. Later that evening, Steve Vai came into town. He did a Q&A, and the funniest thing I remember, maybe the only thing I remember other than the notes I took, but the most memorable for me, someone in the audience asked Steve Vai, how can you still hear so well after all these years of playing? And he said, what? You know, he's like, what? Can't hear you. And let me, you know what? Now that I remember, these are my notes I actually took during the whole camp. You know, Beato was my first class. High pass, when you take the low end out. That's something I learned. Hybrid picking, arpeggio chords, diminished scale. Nuno talked about how Eddie Van Halen thought the first album tone was thin. Eddie was critical about his own tone of the first Van Halen album. Thought his tone wasn't good. The stories within you, nobody has. That was an underlining, returning thing that kept being said. Eric Gale's hybrid picking. Hybrid picking's important. Eric Gales plays a right-handed guitar, but completely flipped upside down. So he uses his right hand to fret, and the thinnest, highest string is on the top, which is interesting. Nuno and Beato, when they were talking, Nuno says, don't continue learning a song till you get each part down. If there's a hard part, he stays on that part until he gets it down before he gets the joy of playing the next part. Rick Beato talked about YouTube, and one interesting note I took was he considered if your click-through rate is over 10%, the video is considered viral. I don't know if that's his definition or arbitrary or what, but that was one thing I thought was interesting. Okay, I'm going to check out my click rate and see if it's over 10% for each video. Nuno and Steve Vai. One word I wrote down was polymeter. That's a word I wouldn't have just thought to look up in the wild. It's the 2 meters on top of each other with the... I don't even know what it is fully, but I took the note. Now I know that's something I need to learn. Steve Vai talked... Okay, so I only remember that one funny part of the Steve Vai thing, but I've got some notes here. An accoutrement refers to extra items, accessories, or equipment to go with something. He said that word at some point, and I was like, what is that word? Oh, one thing Steve Vai said, experiment how you hold the guitar pick. There's different ways you can hold it, and different things have different advantages. Oh, circular vibrato. He talked about practicing in the mirror, experiment vibrato, Fire Garden Suite. I don't remember what that is. Is that one of his songs or a song he likes? Richie Kotzen talked about vintage amps sounding better, that some new amps, even if they're good, they have this weird new amp thing. Talked about Keith Richards chords. Fender Tonemaster in the early 90s was a good amp. He said the word flanger. That's a pedal, right? An effect on guitar. I need to look up what a flanger is again. Talked about ninth chords. Like he knows them just because he knows the chord shapes or the chords, and then he doesn't know the theory as well. Nuno and Eric Gales. Eric Gales said that after his shows, he stays at every meet and greet for 2+ hours and meets anyone who stays and is at the merch booth. Talks to everyone. I thought that was really cool. And, you know, if I get in this position where I am playing on stages and playing with a band, which I still want to do. I have original music, and I'm in LA, and I'm meeting musicians. I've been here for a year, though, so I'm like, man, how am I going to find a band? But that would be something I would be interested in doing, is meeting everyone who saw my music. I think that's way cool. Rick Beato. Start with major triads, add the sharp 4 for Lydian. Look up... Oh, so I missed one class on bins, guitar bins. So I wrote a note to look up some kind of YouTube video on guitar bins just to see all the things I may or may not think about. Oh, here's a big note. Does LA have guitar clinics? Because I felt like I leveled up and learned so much. It's like, I need to do this more. Maybe there's some local stuff. LA has to have guitar clinics, right? I already listed off all those names. I did take a note for myself, like, wait, if I just Google the words metal riff exercises, surely I'll find a few licks that will greatly benefit my playing. Then I was like, I should do the same I should just Google the words blues riff exercises. Surely I'll learn something beneficial. And then one last note, jazz riff exercises. If I just Google those, surely it will benefit my playing. And the iconic solos that Nuno Bettencourt shared that he loves are Hitch a Ride, Boston, especially the outro solo, Limelight, Rosanna, Eruption, Hotel California. He thinks Hotel California is the greatest solo of all time because it's 5 minutes long, but you're just entertained the whole time. And Al Di Meola, a Latin song. It was super good. Let's see. Let me go through my photos here and see if I miss anything. Yeah, he did a long jam the first night, and then the next morning he had a master class. He was like, "Really? Last night was the master class, the jamming, the playing the music part. Because we can talk all day, but so much it's about playing and getting to play with people." It was at a resort. Lake Las Vegas, Hilton, 30 minutes outside of Las Vegas, near Henderson. Took a couple Eric Gale's classes. Had a lunch with Taj Farrant, super cool guy, fierce to be reckoned with over the future. Steve Vai, him playing, and I'm just looking down at these photos to make sure I'm not missing anything. Steve Vai, when he played, I have not listened to much Steve Vai. I've just heard, great guitar player. He's amazing. Great guitar player. When I heard him play, all it took was 30 seconds to be like, oh, now I get it. He's the greatest guitar player on earth. He's the greatest guitar player. This is what all the hype about Steve Vai is. Unfortunately, he only played 2 songs and the set ended and everyone was really confused because the concert was supposed to go on for an extra hour and a half. I don't know if this is true, but I was hearing rumors that he only wants to play things he's practiced and perfected, and that's all they had. And so he was done. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. I got a quick selfie with Nuno. He was super cool, and that was the end of the trip. That's what I got. I will say that, wow, if you've made it 23 and a half minutes into this video, here's a really cool thing. I went to NAMM. The last day of NAMM, I was standing in the Marriott lobby watching whatever acoustic act was playing. It was like 4:30 p.m. It wasn't super full. I'm watching the band. I look to the left. This is at NAMM, Anaheim. Nuno Bettencourt is walking straight up to me with his hand out. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Shook my hand. Did the pat on the shoulder, squeezed my shoulder for a second. I'm like, "Good, man. I'm doing good." He walked off, and it's like, holy shit. 3 days after the course, 200 people happened to run into him, briefly getting to NAMM, because he was playing that show later that night at the Arena, Anaheim Convention Center. I don't know if he was checking into the hotel or going to a back room to practice or something. But early in the day, when there wasn't a huge crowd, he walked right through the lobby, and he saw me, and he was walking right up to me and shook my hand. And the rest, I was just like, who can I tell this to? Not many people, only a couple people, but I was just like, wow, Nuno is my friend. And that was only a couple days ago. So if he saw me again now, he'd probably remember me but who knows, 2 years or whatever. But yeah, let's end it on that. Nuno, thank you for everything. You rock. And till next time. Here, let me get a good thumbnail shot as we close. All right. Goodbye.